Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And as always, I want to thank you for being on the journey, for being here. 2026, new year. We are now officially done with the first week. This is a time when a lot of people who have made their New Year's resolutions fall off within the first week. I think the numbers are around 50% fall off within the first week, and then 80% fall off by the middle of the month. So you're here, first week into January. Good for you for being back. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for investing in this, for making this podcast a part of your journey, and thank you for still being on the journey. Even if you've just started walking it, even if you've just tuning in for the first time, welcome aboard. Thank you for being here. But thank you for being on this journey. You know, most people won't do this. Most people won't take the time, won't invest the energy to look into themselves, to look into where their lives, their places need some adjustment, some energy, some looking into. You're here because you see that there are parts of your life that need some access and some attention. And so good for you for that. Good for you for being here. And thank you for allowing me to come alongside. And thank you for involving the podcast in this. If this is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or Life Coach, Grace Life Coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these. So share them. Share them out there. Tag me in it. I'd love to see where you are. But it'll help others to see it. This is not proprietary information. This is not copyrighted. This is not something I want to keep hidden. This is something I want everybody out there to experience, because when we grow individually, the world around us grows. That's how it works. When one of us advances, we all advance. Advancement, growth, betterment is not a limited commodity. It is not something that, if one person has to rise, another person has to fall. That's not how it has to work. This is not a limited commodity. So we can encourage others to grow as we grow. We can encourage others to expand as we expand. So please share it out there. Put it out there. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening, and you get a notification when new episodes come out. And I try to put out 3 every week, so you'll be able to stay on board. And if you want to reach out to me, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. As always, GraceLifeCoaching.com, all one word, all lowercase. It's got all my contact information. You can do some Reiki, some sound bath. We can do some coaching. However I can come alongside you, I'd love to help out. GraceLifeCoaching.com. So here we are, like I said, end of the first week of January, and all the lights are starting to turn off, and you start to see Christmas trees going out by the curbside for trash pickup. And this busy holiday season that we have pushed through and we have grown in and we have experienced, it just suddenly comes to an end. Everything goes quiet. Everything goes dark. That's the thing about early January. Everybody's so excited about the holiday season, such energy, such great love, such great commitment, such chaos. And then all of a sudden, everything stops. The lights come down, the music fades, the calendar's clear. And for many people, that feels uncomfortable. All of a sudden, this quiet, this stillness, getting into the season, I can't wait for it to be done. I can't wait for my schedule to open up, my calendar to calm down. And then when it happens, it's like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this. Silence, quiet, stillness can be very uncomfortable for people. And I really want to kind of dig into that today and see if we can address some of that and help move into this quieter season, this slower season, this slower time before we start amping up again into spring and summer. Because we live in a world where we're trained to believe that busy equals important, that loud equals alive, that constant motion equals success. That's what we're trained. That's what we're taught. That's what we see all around us. So when the chaos stops, when the season stops, when the energy stops, we panic. We panic because we're being told that we have to be busy in order to be important, that we have to be loud in order to be alive, that we have to be in motion in order to be successful. And now all of that has stopped. It's easy during the holiday season to do that because there's so many opportunities, but then all of a sudden everything stops and there's this sense of panic. What do I do now? How do I live into this? We rush to fill the space, scrolling and scheduling, overcommitting, planning the next thing, rather than just stopping. We see quiet as something to run from. But what if quiet isn't a void to escape? What if it's a gift? What if we're given a gift here, the early part of January, in this winter month? If you're in above the Mason-Dixon line, if you're in the northern hemisphere, above middle of the country, it's cold and it's snowy. And that doesn't mean we have to stay inside. But what if we see this quiet time now as a gift? What if we see this void as something to embrace rather than to run from? I want to talk about living in stillness after the holidays, not rushing back into chaos, not numbing the calm, but learning how to rest without guilt and exist without performing. Those are two really key things that can help us move forward and find balance. When we can rest without guilt and exist and live and have purpose without performance. But here's the thing, so many people run from stillness. They run from quiet because it exposes the hidden things. When the noise stops, when the busyness stops, our thoughts get louder. All of a sudden, the things we've been thinking about, the things inside of our head, our narrative, they get louder. Our inner self gets louder when we quiet the noise around us. Our emotions catch up to us. The things that we have been hiding and numbing and pushing away with all of the other external things, now they start to catch up and our exhaustion becomes visible. Let's be honest. We are exhausted people. We fill our calendars. We fill our lives with other things and outside things. We are truly an exhausted people. You ever find yourself where you sit down for 5 minutes and all of a sudden you're falling asleep? It's not because you're bored. It's because you're exhausted. We are exhausted people. And as exhausted people, when we slow down, when we enter into the calmness, we see that exhaustion very clearly in front of us. And when we're confronted with that, we just want to fill it with busyness. Busyness becomes a coping mechanism, a way to run away from those thoughts of getting louder and those emotions that catch up and the exhaustion that just creeps in at the edges. We stay busy. We get busy and use busyness as a coping mechanism. And remember, it's a great coping mechanism because it's what society tells us we're supposed to be doing. So, hey, we're living the good life. But when we stay busy, we avoid those deeper feelings, those deeper emotions, those deeper things. We avoid that feeling of loneliness that we have. All of us have it. We avoid sitting with uncertainty. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And that's true. Nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. Nobody is promised tomorrow. We avoid asking hard questions about our lives, about where we're going, about the direction we're going. And here's the thing, when we're deep into the busyness of the holiday season, there's often that moment where I don't want to do this next year. I don't want to be like this next year. I don't want to feel this busyness and chaos next year. But then when we get to next year, we haven't done the hard work of asking the deeper questions. So we're right back into it again. Every year we go right back into that process. So sitting in our quiet allows us to ask those deeper questions about our life. And it also allows us to acknowledge our exhaustion and our burnout. We're burned out people. We're exhausted people. We've pushed ourselves to the edge over and over and over, but the world tells us we have to. And so we ignore that burnout. We ignore that place and we enter again into that chaos because chaos gives us a false sense of control. Chaos gives us a false sense of control, that things are going well because we're busy and we're all over the place. But stillness asks us deeper questions. It asks us to trust instead. Trust that we are on the right path. Trust that we are important people. Trust that our being and our identity is what brings us worth and matter. So if you're in this place right now, my friends, if you're in this place here the first week of January where you're feeling uneasy, it doesn't mean that something's wrong. It just means your nervous system is finally exhaling. It just means that you're finally exhaling. You've been holding all of this in and pushing it all around to get through this season, to get through this chaos, and now you're exhaling. You think about it if you hold your breath. You hold your breath and, you breathe in a nice deep breath and you're holding in and it feels good for a couple of seconds. And then there starts to be pressure and then there starts to be anxiety and then there starts to be stress. And then when you exhale, your body relaxes. Well, this is a time of exhaling during this early part of the winter season, during this early part of January. Trust me, it's going to get busy soon enough. It's going to get busy soon enough. Schedules will amp up soon enough. So we don't want to rush into that busyness too quickly. Allow this stillness, this quiet, this gentleness, this place to give you a chance to rejuvenate and recharge. It's going to feel a little uneasy because we don't allow ourselves to do that. But part of growth and advancement is knowing when it's time to retreat and rest and embrace quiet and stillness without guilt and without the need to produce, which is so countercultural to our reward system that we get. We have this reward system that rewards urgency. We reward ourselves, our brain rewards ourselves, the world rewards ourselves around urgency. That's what culture does. Notifications and deadlines and endless productivity. I mean, think about it. How many notifications do you have on your phone? How many apps on your phone give you a direct notification? The more notifications we have, the more we feel this sense of urgency, this sense of importance. And we confuse movement with progress, activity with purpose, speed with meaning. We confuse these things, but that's not the case. Movement isn't always progress. I mean, you ever watch a dog chase its tail? Well, it's moving a lot, but it ain't going anywhere. It's like constantly living on a treadmill. You're moving and moving, but you're in the same place. Movement isn't always progress, and stillness isn't always laziness. All right, and activity with purpose, that just because we're active doesn't mean we have a purpose, and speed doesn't equal meaning. The faster we go doesn't mean we're better. Growth doesn't always look loud, my friends. Some of the most important shifts happen quietly, and it is in this time when we can be quiet that we want to start moving into those shifts, because we take those shifts and we apply them when things get busy again. We apply them when things get chaotic again, and they will. Spring sports will start up here soon, concerts and presentations and all of the things that will come with, Valentine's Day, and then we'll get into some of the spring celebrations, and then all of a sudden we're into summer, we're going to start planning vacations, all that kind of stuff. But some of the most important shifts happen quietly, and I would encourage you in this time to embrace the quiet. Relearn how to rest, and rest without guilt. Rest is not something we earn. It's not something we deserve. It's something that is embedded inside of us. We have to rest. And letting emotions settle, just letting them be. We don't have to confront them. We don't have to overcome them. We don't have to work them out all the time. Just letting them be, letting them exist, and listening instead of reacting. When we're busy, we have to react. We're always reacting. When we settle down, we can listen. We can listen, we can hear our own inner thoughts, we can hear our own inner narrative, we can listen to those around us if we need to repair things or rebuild things or enhance things. But when we slow down, we can listen. When we are moving fast, when we are active, we're not listening. We're projecting. We hear in the stillness and in the quiet, not in the loudness. And we want to remind ourselves that stillness isn't laziness. Stillness is not laziness. If you're taking time to be still, that is not lazy. That's integration. It's integration of the balance between movement and stillness, between activity and rest. We need to grow both of those. I mean, think about it. If you go to the gym and you work out and you're pushing weights around, do your muscles grow when you're pushing weights around? No, they grow when you rest. So this is a time when we can really embrace that slowerness, we can really embrace that rest, and we can really confront those places where when we are still, we are uncomfortable. I mean, ask yourself this. This is a really important question. Ask yourself this. When things get quiet, when the chaos is subdued, when the loudness goes away, when action is no longer happening, when things get quiet, what do you do? What do you reach for when things get quiet? One of the most poignant things that people reach for is their phones. I've got 5 minutes. I could sit here in silence and dwell in my emotions, or I could scroll on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or Snapchat. I could reach out to people. You know what? It's quiet. I'm going to go get something to eat. Or you know what? It's quiet. I'm going to turn on the TV, or I'm going to turn on some music. When quiet and stillness happens, what do you reach for? Maybe it's work. Maybe you go back to work. Maybe you reach for people, or I got a few minutes. I'm going to plan out, what I'm going to do in September. These things that we do, these habits that we do when we're quiet, they're not failures, they're signals. They're signals to say that being quiet is not a place where we want to be. But stillness is not something that we have to run from. Stillness is something that we can embrace, and it actually reveals to us something very deep. Stillness invites us to move away from those habits. When it's quiet, sit with yourself without fixing anything. Sit with yourself. This is where meditation comes in. This is where the ability to just sit with ourselves for a few minutes. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What's my body feeling right now? What am I smelling? What am I hearing? What am I feeling on my skin? What's the temperature in the room? Sit with yourself. Exist. Exist without earning. Just be. This is a powerful time to be able to do that. So I would invite you to do this. I'd invite you to do this. Every day throughout the month of January, I would invite you to sit for 2 minutes without input. No input at all. No phone, no music, no tasks, no papers, no writing, nothing. Just sit for 2 minutes. See if you can do it. See if that stillness is something that you can exist in, or is it something that you need to run from? Again, and that's not a failure. That's just a signal. That's a signal that stillness and quiet is something that is uneasy for you. It's uneasy for all of us. We learn to move into it, but we have to learn it, and learning it means we have to experience it. Allow this part of January to be a time of grounding and not grinding into what's next. Not grinding into new goals, new habits, new pressures, but consider redefining this time of really feeling rested instead of rushed. Like really taking the time. You know what? I have an evening off and I could fill it with meetings or what have you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take the rest. Choose depth over speed right now. Look, it's dark, it's cold, it's kind of dreary. Choose depth over speed. Stay within yourself. Stay within yourself. Stay within what's going on inside of you. This is where the deep work happens. It happens when we stay within ourselves, when we're able to go into ourselves and see what's really going on and confront some of those things, those behavior patterns and those beliefs that reside there that we know that aren't true, but we just don't have the energy to confront them. Maybe those things came out during the holiday season. Maybe they come out in the busyness, and now it's time to start to confront them and start to ask some deeper questions about them. Lean into the stillness. Lean into the quiet of this time. Here's some practical ways to do that. Here's some practical things that you can practice. One of them is delay decisions. Because of our platforms expect immediate response. Immediate response. Someone texts me, the expectation is I will text back immediately. Someone messages me, the expectation is that I will give an immediate answer. Well, not everything needs an immediate answer. Not everything needs an immediate thing. Be directed and intentional about your decisions. Delay that decision. It's like, hey, do you have time to go hang out? You know what? I could answer right away and I could look in my schedule. I'm going to delay that for a little bit. It's not urgent. If it's urgent, then, hey, great, deal with it. But if it's not urgent, then delay it. Allow yourself the time to think and plan and be quiet and still with it. This is a great time to reduce input. I've talked about this a lot. This is a really powerful thing. If we want to balance ourselves and bring ourselves into grounding, reduce input. What I mean by that is less news, fewer notifications, longer moments of quiet. Look at your phone, look at your notifications, and there's settings on the phone that you can do this. What are the primary things that you need notifications for? Obviously, phone calls and texts are important. Maybe if you do a lot of emailing, that's important, or Facebook messaging or what have you. But what other things are important? Are the notifications on your news app important? Are the notifications of Snapchat important? Are the notifications on TikTok important? Because every time a notification comes in, it draws you away. It draws you into that input. Reduce the amount of notifications, or reduce the time of notifications. All phones have do not disturb settings. They have airplane mode settings. So go use those. If you want to have that quiet time, set your do not disturb from 10 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning, and only allow phone calls and texts to come in during that time. Decrease input. Schedule nothing. Honestly, schedule nothing. Look at your schedule and make a time where you schedule nothing. You can call it whatever you want. You can put it on for an hour, just me, or fun time, or nothing. Schedule it, because when we put it on our schedule, we make it important. All right, it becomes important. So schedule it. Like if you're trying to work out, schedule it. Put it on your calendar so that it's there. If you're getting better sleep, schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Schedule out these points and schedule nothing. Schedule time for nothing. I'm going to do nothing. 10 minutes of nothing, and hold to that schedule. Hold to that schedule. When you put a meeting on your schedule, you do everything you can to make that meeting, right? Well, put a meeting with yourself on your schedule every day for doing nothing. Because again, it's not laziness. It's not lack of productivity. It's healing and growth and expansion. And pay attention to your body. Your body will tell you. Even though our mind might want to override our body, your body will tell you when it needs rest, when it needs stillness. So pay attention to your body, right? Look, this doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. You choose this. You choose to enter into that calmness, that stillness. You choose to learn that, or you choose not to. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. And this is part of the work. This is part of the advancement. This is part of the growth. You do not need to rush back into noise to prove that you're alive. You do not need chaos to be valuable. You do not need constant motion to matter. Hear me when I say that. You don't. This quiet season isn't empty. It's a fertile time to be able to learn stillness, to be able to learn gentleness and calmness, to be able to learn a way to enter into the busyness that helps you to keep balanced and whole and quiet and peaceful and healthy. So you don't need all of these things in order to matter. What you need is to learn how to find that balance one to the other, because the chaos is going to come. The busyness is going to come. The emotion is going to come. But how do you stay regulated and growing in the midst of that? This is a great time to really embrace that quiet calmness as we balance between the end of the holiday season and the beginning of spring. This is a great time to do that. And I really would encourage you to invest the time to do that. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. If you follow me on any one of them, Facebook, Instagram, X, or LinkedIn, then share them out there. If you're on one of the listening platforms, please follow us, give us a rating and review. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I'd love to hear from you, because at Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.